Shalom, shalom. Let there be peace.
I come by kvetched. I said, look, this is really bothering me. And she looks at me and she says, well, welcome to living in a body.
Good.
And this is it. He's speaking to that. I mean, we're imprisoned in our body. And here we are with Hukat, with the sister of the Nachash. Before we go there, so quick tour. For those of you watching the YouTube video, you can go to the end of the video for quick instructions about how to find the text in Hebrew if you're interested in following with the Hebrew text on Sefaria.org.
All right, good morning, everybody. Chukas, as everybody knows, one of many things that Jews excel at is kvetching. We're big kvetchers, and we inherited it from our forefathers in the desert who were constantly kvetching about this, that, and the other thing. Sometimes it works to our advantage, and sometimes not, to be a kvetcher. So what are they kvetching about in this particular incident? So, as we all know, they've been eating for almost 40 years. They've been eating miracle food, the man from Shemayim, the manna, which I'm not going to go through all the miracles that it possessed, but it was basically they were eating miracle food that was falling from the sky every day. So you would think they would be really grateful about that, but they kvetched about it. Oh, we're sick and tired of this man. It looks the same. It tastes like this. It's not that. I want a steak and potatoes, whatever it is. So they were kvetching. So Hashem, Yisbarach, God didn't appreciate it. And he punished those kvetchers. He punished them. He sent snakes, poisonous snakes. They bit certain people amongst the complainers, and they died of the poisonous snake. Then people were crying again, doing teshuvah, trying to repent and saying, God, please stop poisoning us with the poisonous snakes. So here comes the very mysterious part. God instructs Moshe Rabbeinu, to fashion a snake out of copper, like a statue of some kind, not a statue, a sculpture of a copper snake, place it on a very high pole, and instruct the Jews that whoever looks at this copper snake up on the pole will be cured of the venom, and everyone should live happily ever after.
So, Pasuk Aselecha Saraf, and this is the Pasuk from Numbers. If you want to go to the Chumash, it's Numbers, the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 21, verse 6. Vaishalach Adonai ba'am et hanechashim asrafim v'inshchu et ha'am v'yamat am rav miYisrael. And then the pasuk that this Sfat Emet is going to talk about is actually verse 8. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe aseh lecha saraf v'sim oto al nes. So the word for a snake here, there's two words. There's nachash, but there's also saraf. And the word for the image that they sculpted, that they were instructed to sculpt and put on a pole, is called saraf. And it's an important word, as we'll see. It's instructive that here the Torah says put a saraf up on the pole, and we'll see in the end why this is important. B'mishnah v'chi nachash memit v'chule u'mechayeh. So he brings a Mishnah that asks the question: does a snake kill or revive. אלא כדי שיהיו מסתכלים למעלה ומשעבדים ליבם לאביהם שבשמיים והיו מתרפאים. So the Mishnah is asking, what does a snake have to do with, what does a sculpture of a snake have to do with killing or healing? It's nothing to do with healing. It's just, they just wanted to get them to look up towards the heaven and to dedicate their hearts to what's the word? Surrender their hearts to their Father in heaven, and from there came the healing. Says that's the Mishnah that the Sfat Emet is quoting. And then he asks, "V'kashe היה צריך להיות הסתכלות לשמיים בלבד, למה נחש נחושת?" So doesn't this smack you as idol worship? Put an idol up on a pole, and the Sfat Emet says it should have been to look up to the heaven alone, without having the image of a snake on a pole. Now that's more consistent with our tradition. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, you went all the way idol worship, but in other words, if God is instructing to do this thing with the copper snake, so you do it. The question is that Sfas Emes is asking, and the Mishnah actually is asking the question. The whole idea is to repent and pray and to recognize that we screwed up and ask God for forgiveness. And metaphorically, we're looking up to the so-called heavens in this matter. So basically, Moses should tell the people, you screwed, just what I said, you screwed up, now pray. Look to God to save you and heal you. He sent you the man and you were ingrates. Why this intermediary state? There seems to be zero connection. First of all, just there's zero connection between the power of refuah, of healing, and this figurine of a snake on a pole. It's like bizarre. Right. It's totally bizarre. And if the point is to get them to pray, just say pray. Right? So, but he's saying that the answer in the Mishnah is not sufficient. Oh, he just wanted to get them to pray.
So he says, in fact, the snake did have healing property. Because God put a healing property into that snake. As the Ramban, Rabbi Maimon, son of Nachmanides, said, Zal, Zichrono Livracha, his memory be of blessing, שדרכו של הקדוש ברוך הוא למתוק מר במר. It's the way of the Holy One, blessed be, to sweeten something that's bitter with something else that's bitter.
Right. This is going to be the key to the piece. But I just want to say that this is a comment that the Ramban makes on where we see something similar prior in the desert. At the beginning of the wanderings, there was a place they came to where the water source was bitter. It was poison water, basically.
Yeah.
And God told Moshe to put a stick into the water, and the water became sweet. And over there, the Ramban says, because this is a beautiful phrase, and this phrase is going to be the whole key. It is the way of God to sweeten what is bitter with bitterness.
That's right. That's right.
So without saying anything further, because Sfas Emes will develop this beautifully, this is the key.
And by the way, this is the key principle of the healing practice of homeopathy. That you heal, like heals like. So we're not going to get into that, but those of you who are either practice or receive homeopathic treatment, this is exactly, this is an ancient principle that was developed by Hahnemann, Dr. Hahnemann in 200 years ago in Germany into the practice, the healing practice of homeopathy. לכן אף שדרך הטבע, מי שנשוך מכלב ורואה אותו מזיק לו, therefore, even though it is the way of nature that when somebody is bitten by a dog and then sees a dog, that makes things worse, it harms him, מזיק לו, יותר, שם הקדוש ברוך הוא כאן להיפוך. But here in this case, the Holy One, blessed be, introduce the opposite of that.
Right, because he told us to look at the snake. And we know that if you look at a dog after you got bit by a dog, it's psychologically worse. It could even be physically worse. It could,
right.
Whatever it is. But here we're told to actually look at the snake that bit us.
That's right. You would have thought that just like with the dog, if you looked at the snake, it would traumatize you even more.
Right.
But this is God's will that actually when you look at the snake, you're healed.
Right.
So this is his point. שעל-ידי הראייה איתו עיין שם. אף על פי כן, זה הרצון שבהיותו עוסק ברפואה הגשמי, even so much more so, it is the divine will, haratzon, the will, שבהיותו עוסק, that when a person is focused on physical healing, יסתכל ויהיה ליבו לשמיים. The person will look and turn his or her heart towards heaven. How? על ידי שמיישב עצמו, through, how would you translate miyashev here?
He will contemplate in his mind, miyashev atzmo, like he'll come to realize.
He would settle his mind, or he would go into a settled state of mind, right? Miyashev, so to come into some groundedness, some center in himself. Mm-hmm. So what's the meaning of that? The snake brings life. It means that they are looking and surrendering their heart to heaven.
Right. In other words, they're looking past the snake. That's the point is that the kayach of refuah, the power, the healing power that has been placed in nature, as you were speaking about before with the homeopathy, etc. Yeah. But any refuah, right? Most recently, we had a very strong example of this. In laboratories, doctors got together and they figured out the correct antibodies, how to put the antibodies, a little bit of the virus into the person, whatever they did. So people say, and rightly so, thank God for the scientists, which thank God that people have this knowledge. But what the Sfasim is trying to tell us, the point of looking at this past the snake, we see the snake, we see past the snake. Right. The point is that thank God, period.
Yeah.
Thank God, period. In other words, all refuah comes ultimately from the source.
Right. In other words, don't only look at the physical aspect of the healing, look at the spiritual source of healing. So as you're figuring out the physical of it, which is looking at the snake and all that, it really, where you really want to point your attention, you want to extend your attention beyond the physicality, the nature level of it, to the source in heaven, the source in the godly source for the healing. Okay, Perush. Now this means, אף שהם רחוקים מעולם העליון, ועוסקים בטבע, even though they are distant from the higher realms or the higher worlds, and are pulled into focusing and being busying themselves with nature. And this is, I just want to parenthetically, what happens when we become sick, all our attention goes into our physicality. right? This is the process of sickness. It's like I can't think about anything else. When I have an ache, I get a bite from a snake. What do you think about? It's good. Your whole mind kind of contracts and goes laser focused on where the pain is, right? You don't notice people around you. You certainly don't notice God in that moment, right? It's like ouch, ouch, ouch. That everything else is forgotten. Afal piken, even so, even when you're in that place where you're completely zoomed in to your physicality, yishabdu libam, they should surrender their hearts to heaven. Perush listakel hashamayim, which is the meaning of the verse in the Mishnah, to look up to heaven. ולהראות שחפצים לצאת ממאסר עולם הזה, and to broadcast to heaven, to show God, in other words, שחפצים לצאת ממאסר עולם הזה, that we want to be liberated from the prison of this world, the prison of nature, והטבע, right? עולם הזה והטבע, this world and nature, ולהידבק בו יתברך, and to be cleaving to him, the Blessed One. So that's a statement of intense dveikut, intense faith and intense spirituality.
Right. Like Rabbi Nachman says that if sometimes when a person finds himself in the lowest in physical pain or psychological pain, spiritual pain, that the best thing to do is there's no way out. We don't see a way out from this prison. We're suffering from katnut hamochin, constricted consciousness in a sense. And he says the thing to do is to just say the words, God help. That's it. Just the acknowledgement, that because sometimes that's all we can do. Like you said, we're so obsessed with our own pain and suffering, we can't think straight, so we can't figure out how to work our way out of this prison. He says, just say, God help, just those words, and that opens up all the gates, because we're just showing, like Sasam just said, he used the word to show. We're just showing that we have at least a will to be where we're supposed to be.
Well, it's what's interesting here. Obviously, what you're saying, what he's saying, what we're saying right now, what we're looking at, is completely counterintuitive. That would not be your natural impulse,
Right.
So the interesting thing about it is, like, to go against your nature, against your normal, your ordinary nature. God, forget God. Let me feel better. Then I'll pay attention to God. But here he's saying the opposite. It's like the disease is part of the bars that are prisoning. This is like one of my a healer I once saw, and I told her, I come by kvetched. I said, look, this is really bothering me. And she looks at me and she says, well, welcome to living in a body.
Good.
And this is this, he's speaking to that. I mean, we're imprisoned in our body, you could say, right? And the body will ache, and there will be a snake bite, and there will be as a metaphor for all the different ailments. And if we tune into that vibration, that frequency of, there's a piece of me that's bigger than my body, that actually heals the body.
Right.
That makes sense. And what's interesting about this also is that just that it's counterintuitive to want to turn to God when you're hurting. There's something about the snake in there, a snake for a snake. It's counterintuitive to want to look at that's causing you pain in order to heal the pain.
Right. I mean, just recently, I don't know how long ago this was, but there's a snake in Africa called the mamba snake. And I believe they've discovered, and it's one of the most poisonous, venomous snakes in the world. Like it kills like instantly. And from the venom of that mamba snake, they have somehow created like a type of a morphine, like a painkiller,
from
like a very
from
that snake's venom.
So
this whole point, like you're saying before, there's a further step that only through this, people ask. This gets into the nature of suffering and the things that the person goes through in this life, and why the suffering and why the evil and all this. So for some reason, which hopefully we'll figure out here, for some reason, the healing can only come about through the suffering. That's for the whole exile of Jewish people for 2,000 years. How it works, why it has to be that way. But there seems to be something too. That's what the Ramban was getting at when he said we can only sweeten through bitter. Maybe it has something to do with appreciation. I'm not sure.
So here's now the Sfat Emet is going to conclude this with a beautiful, beautiful. That's the punchline of the whole shiur is V'zeu aseh lecha saraf. This is what it means. Make yourself saraf. Remember, we started with the word. Saraf is a synonym for nachash, for snake. But the word saraf. Okay, I'll keep with him. Hu itlavut adam lidvok bo itbarach. Kanal. So this is the exuberance of a person to cleave to the Blessed One, to God, basically. So what's the connection? Just for those of us who are not Hebrew literate, the word saraf means snake, but also means fire. That is it has dual meaning, has more than dual, has several meanings, but the word for snake here, the dafka, it's chosen because it means fire, according to the Sfat Emet. And what's the fire? It's the fire of devotion, the fire inside a person to be liberated from the prison of physicality and to cleave, to be one with God.
Yeah, beautiful. And ultimately, this story of the snake goes all the way back to the beginning of our Jewish history, the history of the world according to the Bible, where the snake got everybody in trouble, right? So the snake has a bad rep,
That's right.
But the ultimate geula, the ultimate redemption, the redemption of ourselves, personal redemptions, is coming through our having to deal with the concept of snake, with the concept of suffering and hurting, physically, emotionally hurting, and coming out the other side and transforming that into something really, really wonderful. And perhaps that's why nachash, which is the generic word for snake, nachash is the same gematria as Mashiach. The same letters as the Messiah. Numerical equivalent.
It's amazing. It's so
deep. The primordial evil of this world, we are tasked with transforming that into the ultimate good.
Amen. May we do that soon in our day, really soon.
Amen. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for sharing this deep teaching. Really deep. I'm really. This went so to the core. And come back next Wednesday for more Sfat Emet. It's let's go down to the core and bring all that is transformative and healing for this world. It needs it so much. If you were touched and healed and inspired, why not like us? Push the like button. Did I mention subscribing to the channel? Why not? Can't hurt. In fact, doesn't cost you anything, but it's meaningful to us, so why not subscribe? And let's keep the conversation going. Share a comment below. What do you think about this teaching? Where does that take you? How does that land with you? Shalom for now. See you next Wednesday.
Shalom, shalom, let there be peace, peace in every city, peace in every country, peace in every heart. Let there be peace. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Let there be peace.
So here we go. You go to seforia.org and you click on the top left. There's the 3 bars, horizontal bars. You click on those, then you scroll down to, we have the boxes under the title texts, and you click on more. It's going to open up a few more boxes. Then you find Chassidut, and you click on Chassidut. Now you scroll down to the category that is called other Chassidut works. You keep scrolling down, you'll see the Sfat Emet on the close to the bottom. Once you're in the Sfat Emet, you go to the top of the page where it says Sfat Emet Genesis Bereshit 1, and you click on the drop-down menu. It takes you to table of contents, and you go to click on the book of Numbers. Scroll down a little more, you click on Parashat Hukat, and you go to section number 6. When you're in section number 6, scroll down to the paragraph that's numbered with a little number 3. And there we are. It starts with Bapasuk, Aselech HaSaraf, Vechule.